We have so much stuff, and we're just going to point out a few things. The room that we're standing in, we assume that it was probably a garage that's been enclosed, okay? When I look at this wall here, for some reason, they have removed the masonry and installed wood frame. Now, this wood frame is a flat 2x member holding up masonry, and this is a load-bearing wall. The roof comes down right on this wall. So this is a cause for concern immediately. When you get into the structure modifications and things like that, you have to have an engineer or design professional to make the repair. So this is probably a little more than saying recommend repair, right? They've also installed a planter outside that you can't see right up against this wood frame wall with a stucco veneer. We can move the insulation back, and what do you expect but water intrusion? With my GE moisture meter, I can prove it that it's wet. So it's no longer my opinion, but matters of fact when I use tools. On the exterior of this home, there's been multiple little bump outs. Okay, when I look underneath, and a really good tool to have is a mirror on a stick, okay? Because there's some real limited space underneath, but when you can take a mirror and look up underneath, I can see some extensive damage. Now when I come inside, voila. This structure is structure that is basically nailed to the original existing structure. It's not a cantilever or anything like that. It's been basically nailed and glued and taped onto the original structure. The construction is very poor, and water intrusion has occurred, and you've got some subsequent damage. The other really fun thing is, this is an older house. So if we look right down here, this tile is consistent with an asbestos content material used in this era. So obviously only a lab can prove it, but I would definitely probably point this out on my report. Suspected asbestos containing material noted in this room. Now, what is always not afforded to us is the ability to look inside the structure. But because this house is such a doozy, we've got a nice hole in the floor right down here. We're able to look inside, and it looks like the flooring below was an old roof. It looks like there's felt paper residue there, and there's been structure added on top of this. Now, was all this engineered and permitted? Not sure. What is also really neat is part of the new structure has been cut and altered. So we're into some engineering recommendations here. Now we're on the back side of the house on the balcony. This is really neat because number one, we've got a very old handrail standard. We've got the baluster spacing is excessive, okay? In their standards, it's got to be able to resist a 200-pound lateral load, which obviously we can't replicate. However, this one's not too hard to prove. What is also interesting about this balcony, because the tile's all been removed, you can look down here and see that this was tile thin-setted directly to plywood on the exterior. There's no other waterproofing underneath. Because of that, water has penetrated right past the tile mortar joints to the subfloor here, and you can see we've got extensive damages to the floor. I can look inside and also see damages. When we come over here to the corner, your main structure around the outside here, we have some extensive damages inside. I can poke it with my probe and show you some extensive structural damages. So I probably shouldn't hang out here too long. Now that we're safely back down here on the ground, we're underneath that balcony where the tile was directly set on top of the plywood. We know that water's been coming through. We can tell that up top. Here, I've got water coming out cracks all over the place underneath here. The most exciting thing, if you will, is this is not only structural issues. Look at the light fixture has been full of water. Now we can include some electrical issues in that as well. What we've got out here is this bump out structure attached to the house. There's flashing separating those because of the transition. However, you don't have a kick out here. Now, you can see the big crack. Nice big crack here. It's actually out of a little plane. I know you can't see that. So when somebody tells you, well, it wasn't coated back then, you got to let them know that it's never been coated to funnel water behind a veneer. Now we've got water coming into this wood frame structure, and I can even look in below, and not only can I see damaged framing, but I can see that the stucco is about that thick, non-compliant with ASTM application standards.